and welcome to another brand new episode of This Week in Disney History. I am your host, Milo Beasley, and we are hanging out here at the Animal Kingdom, or DAC, as I call it, D-A-K, Disney's Animal. Anyway, so we're gonna go check out Pandora, Everest, see what's left of Dino Land, and talk about things such as whatever happened in this week in Disney history. Hey, so if we're going to start at Animal Kingdom, you got to start at the Tree of Life, right? Okay, so where do we live off the fifth? So August 16th, 1955, just a month after opening day at Disneyland, they are still opening attractions. This time the Dumbo's Flying Elephant ride over at Disneyland Park. So yeah, still getting the kinks out a month later, and while it's not a opening day attraction, it's close enough. So Dumbo's Flying Elephant ride. Also on this date, just last year, August 16, 2019, was the earliest a Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween party had ever started, and I was there. And I have video. So go back, check it. I had tips and tricks. So if you needed tips and tricks for Halloween, like next year, there's some, it's getting ready to go down. So yeah, tips and tricks for Halloween next year. Go back and watch last year's video, as things are going to get a little bit crazy. Which brings us to August 17th, 1986. Luxo Jr. premieres. Luxo Jr. is the very first Pixar cartoon, Pixar film produced over at those studios. And now we have films like Toy Story, Toy Story 2, Toy Story 3, Toy Story 4. And if you're not familiar, if you're with, you see the little lamp that jumps and bounces on the eye prior to every Pixar film, that is Luxo Jr. So, learning things here. Also on this date, August 17th, 2004, The Three Musketeers, featuring Goofy, Mickey Mouse, and the star of the show, Donald Duck, goes straight to Disney DVD, and I'm pretty sure I bought it on this date in 2004. Also on this date, August 17th, 2007, it's not really my thing, but High School Musical 2 premieres. I know a lot of people love it. They made a musical about the musical, but it's not my... And then finally on August 17th, 2010, Toy Story Playland opens up at the Disneyland Paris Resort over at the Walt Disney Studios. So they have the RC coaster thingy that makes you feel like you're going to fall out every single time, even though I know I'm not. Also, giant Buzz Lightyear, and absolutely love it over there, and I can't wait to go back. But I really can't wait to go get a drink, so let's go do that. And now we're hanging out in Dino Land, where they are trying their hardest to make sure I can't get through a video without a copyright violation. So let's get through this quickly. August 18th, 2013, Disney launches their Disney Infinity video game series with a huge event in New York City. New York City! Some of you don't get that, and that's fine. But yeah, so I usually have a ton of the Disney Infinity figures. I would even buy them, even if I didn't use their figures in the game. So yeah, they got a lot of my money, and now those figures are worthless. And now I have a lot of those figures. Oh, can you see him back there? So this may be a great time to tell you that August 19th, 2006, horrible segues because there's a gorilla, right? Catching a gorilla. August 19th, 2006 was the very last day for Who Wants to Be a Millionaire at MGM Studios. I loved going into Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. I never won. I was never a millionaire. But they would have it for Star Wars weekends, so they would be Star Wars specific questions on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. Where'd he go? And also on this date, 2007, August 19th, 2017, Spider-Man the Animated Series makes its debut on Disney XD. He doesn't care. And now we're hanging out at Dinosaur, one of my favorite rides at the Animal Kingdom, which brings us to August 20th. No real reason, but August 20th, 1928 is the date of the very last Oswald short titled Hot Dog, which is a tie-in, some of you guessed, as the very first words of Mickey Mouse. So the very last Oswald short titled Hot Dog is the very first words of Mickey Mouse a couple years later. Also August 20th, 2017, the last day for the Pixar Play Parade over at Disney's California Adventure. I love the Play Parade. There's still like a little versions of it, you know, like the Green Army men still do their thing and stuff, but it's really not the same. Hey, now we're hanging out outside of the Festival of the Lion King here at Animal Kingdom. We're going to talk about August 21st, 1920. 1920, A.A. Milne, the creator of the Winnie the Pooh book series, fathers a child, to which he names, that wasn't him, to which he names Christopher Robin. That is right. The lead of his book was named after his son, or his son named after, no, he named the book after his kid. Also on this date, 1995. The People Mover. We actually talked about rides opening at Disneyland, but now we're going to talk about rides closing at Disneyland, and that is the People Mover closes down this date, 1995. Sorry. But on this date as well, yeah, August 21st, right? August 21st, as I said, 2007, over at the Epcot Center where we were last week, the Muppets Mobile Lab debuted, featuring Dr. Benson Honeydew and Beaker. It was a little animatronic, remote-controlled little mobile lab where they went and they did experiments with folks in the audience. And this actually reappeared about 10 years later, just a couple years ago, where I was able to go and get my picture with the doctor and his assistant. So we're wrapping things up this week in Pandora, where we're going to use the Avatar technology to power our Wayback Machine. As we travel back to August 22nd, 1929, Silly Symphonies produces one of their most famous cartoons, and that is the Skeleton Dance. That's right. You always see it at Halloween time. One of the most famous Silly Symphonies cartoons. And then 7 years later, Silly Symphonies produces another cartoon. This one is Toby Tortoise Returns. That is way more difficult to say than you think. There's actually a sequel to the Tortoise and the Hare cartoon. This one has an iconic scene where Toby Tortoise and the rabbit, got his name, and now I'm dumb. But anyway, they're boxing, because if a race can't solve things, then fighting certainly will. I mean, that's always been my motto. So yeah, that'll do it for this week in Disney history. So if you could do all the cool things the cool kids do, subscribe, follow, like, share, and do all those things. Who knows where we're going to be next week. The studio should actually be finished by next week, so we may be back in the studio, we may be back in a park. You never know where we're going to be. So join us next week for this week in Disney history.